just go with it.
Well, I think we should probably put Selkie down.
Why? Well, you can if you want.
Put the dog down. I don't know. It's rather distracting having her.
Dogs and kids, don't play with them.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
Anyway.
So I'm going to just start off and say, hi, Uncle Willie. What's your name and who are you?
I carry the ancestral name of Koalano. Koalano translated in Squamish means the one who listens and does something. My English family name is William James Nahaney. I'm a member of the Squamish First Nation, band number 454.
Now, Uncle Willie, I understand that you were involved in the 2010 Olympics. Can you tell us a bit about your experience?
Yes, I've been employed now for over 25 years at Grouse Mountain Resorts Limited as a First Nation cultural teacher. And of course, in 2010, I was approached by the Squamish band manager if I would represent as the ambassador to meet the people coming from the world to the mountain and to host them with dinners. Actually, twice in that period, I cooked barbecue salmon outside in 4 feet of snow.
So how long were you involved for? A whole year? How long did it last for?
It just ran through the Olympic period time frame,
Mm-hmm.
and we have 5 or 6 different groups come up there. Some of the corporations like Sony or something. Some pretty big names were coming up there. But what we were doing was when they come, we do an hour presentation of song, dance, and story about the Squamish people, relating just how we approach Mother Nature and how it affects us. And we're very thankful for what we do have as First Nations people. But it was very, very wonderful time to be able to do that and meet a lot of beautiful people.
And you've gone around the world, other parts of the world.
I've done presentations for the Squamish Nation in Ottawa in the Museum of Civilization, and also I coordinated 2 groups to Taiwan for international cultural festivals.
Nice.
Yeah, and the first group we went in 1997. They invited 15. We had to send in our resume, pictures, photos, whatever we can, recordings, and then they made an assessment. We were the only First Nations group that was picked from North America. And we performed over there. And when we performed in the Big Egg, just outside of Taiwan, in Taiwan is Taoyuan. The Big Egg holds 22,000 people.
Wow.
And we did our thing. That was at the time too, they had the dragon dancing.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah, the whole place was celebrating.
Was that in Taipei?
No, we went it was outside of Taipei. Taoyuan is where the airport, close to the airport. So that's where we were. That was in our first, we did 6 cities in 12 days. We did Kualien, Hsinchu, Miole, Taoyuan. I don't think we went to Taipei or some other city. Anyway.
So you have been an emissary or an ambassador for the Squamish Nation globally.
Yeah, and we went back again, yes, and we went back in 1999, and out of the first 15 groups that went 97, they only invited 8, and we were one of the 8.
So when we look forward, as you know, there is a bid in the making for the Olympics to come back in 2030. How do you feel about that? What do you think that would look like?
I'm always supportive of sports because my whole family has been involved for years. Amateur boxing, amateur gymnastics, war canoe racing, lacrosse, And our father was in semi-pro hardball. And he always says sports is the best thing for young people to develop themselves. I support it because also because of the fact that these young people who are working towards this deserve the opportunity to show that and to be proud with all Canadians about winning. You know, I don't actually am in that race, but when a Canadian brings up and wears their gold medal, I'm very proud of that too. I take pride because I consider myself a Canadian, First Nations, Aboriginal. I put Canada first because I think I'm a very fortunate person to live in this beautiful country with a lot of wonderful people.
So we talked about the MOU that the City of Vancouver and the resort town of Whistler and the 4 First Nations have working together towards a bid. And it's been described as being a reconciliation games. How do you feel about that? What does that look like to you?
Well, in a way, I would say I got to get a little bit of information as to what an MOU was. I found and I read that it was been posted that it was exploratory of what might become. And I gathered from that exploratory and that it wasn't a binding agreement. They were still exploring. And to propose that it's the reconciliation games, it is not. It should never be. It's the Olympics. The athletes coming from around the world are not coming to reconciliate with anybody. They're coming to show what they've done and earned in the Olympics. I think if we work together as a group of 4, 5, and we're successful, then the Olympics should be a crown and jewel in the process of reconciliation and unity. So that's the way I look at it, that we all have this opportunity if we want and to go further together, because what I've seen the last Olympics, I think I'm proud of what our people have shown the world and what they're capable of. I think they could be even better second time around.
Now, you know that the records, the books from the 2010 Olympics are embargoed in the archives over there. How do you feel about going ahead with something like this without having the benefit of knowledge from what happened last time?
Well, I think as I worked for a number of years as an event planner for the Squamish Nation. And whenever I planned anything, I want the hard, cold facts. I don't operate in the dark or blindfolded. Otherwise, there'll be too many mistakes made. It would be good for First Nation people to know whether that was successful or not. If it's successful, then we can improve upon it. If there were mistakes made, then we could identify and correct it so those things do not repeat themselves. But if we don't open up those records, then you may as well go into the Olympics, all the First Nations blindfolded and guessing as to what may happen out of all their planning. So I would prefer that those books be opened up to our people. And I think if our people are going to involve themselves, they're going to want to know what those facts are. Our people have been going too long in the dark, and too many things that have been held away from us. We've been kept like a lot of stuff like mushrooms in the dark. And it's time to end that process and to open up those books. If they don't want to open up, I always kind of think maybe like our people, they have something to hide. Who's hiding it? Why? I think all Canadians, and especially more so than me, I think all non-natives who are taxpayers have the ultimate right to know what that information is so they're able to make a good decision on whether they want to have or not have the Olympics. But you must know what's in those books.
But you yourself are supportive of another Olympic bid.
Definitely. I am very supportive of people in sports because it leads to people coming together in harmony, showing dignity, respect to each other. And like my dad always said, at the end of the thing, show good sportsmanship. And that's what it's all about, you know, compete, but we don't have to compete to the point where, well, no, I'm going to pull out that club and I'll take care of you. Because that's what's been happening in this day and age, modern age. A lot of those leaders are like cavemen. They haven't come out of there. They still got the biggest club, unfortunately. It's sad. I mean, you know what's happening here today? I'll just say, like, a week ago, I seen the refugees on TV, even from,
Ukraine?
what do you call it?
Ukraine?
Ukraine, escaping to Poland. It was posted, it was a little boy, 5 years old, walking along a road, small candy bar and a toy in one hand, and crying his eyeballs out. Well, over the last week, I've woken up in the middle of the night crying about that little boy. Perhaps it's something that happened to me when I was in that Indian boarding school. Might have touched home. You know, when I seen that little boy, I just wanted to go there and hug him and let him know that there's still human beings that still can show respect to the young ones, to their youth, which the youth need more than ever today, is that respect. Very sad to see that, and finding out he's only one of how many million children being put through that horror. That's not right to do that to children. Nobody has that right to make children suffer, because those that suffer can grow very angry and uptight and take it out on people and carry on with that stupidity and animosity, whatever. It was, I don't know.
Which is going to be the subject of the documentary that we're going to be making.
Is it?
Well, reconciliation is reconciliation, intergenerational healing.
Yeah.
And just as you just said, if you're angry and afraid, that transfers itself from one generation to the other. And so the hope is to come out like your great-granddaughter with all of the opportunity in the world. I mean, juxtapose that little boy with your great-granddaughter, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, very happy about that. You know, you look at the process is changing through reconciliation, because I went to the Indian boarding school. I don't call it a residential school because when you see it's residential, it sounds like it's too nice and poshy. The government likes to color things up nice, put a little gold in it too. But the thing is, our young people are getting education. I was denied, but as you mentioned, my great-granddaughter, who, I don't know how you would say it, she won a 5-year scholarship. She's now in her 4th year. And for the past 3 years, she's been on the honor roll twice. She was on the honor roll once this year, and she expects to be on it again at the end of this term. To me, my great-granddaughter is going to be successful in life. That's what I hope reconciliation processes for all young people to be successful. Native people have been denied too long. I think if we're given the opportunity and tools, and we have the right attitude, and we work together in unity, I always like to believe, and that First Nations people will be a strong force in this country someday for the well-being of not only First Nations people, but for all Canadians. That's,
That was beautiful.
is it? That's what I personally feel, that, you know.
So let's talk about decision making. As you know, I've put forward that Vancouverites, the Vancouver electorate, the people that vote here, should have the right to a vote on whether or not to get into another Olympics. And each of the members of the MOU that we all signed together, Vancouver and Whistler, but Squamish, Musqueam, Tsleil-Waututh, and Lillooet. What kind of decision-making process, if I'm looking at a vote in Vancouver, what decision-making process would for example, the Squamish have, or the Musqueam? You're tied to both.
Our usually practice is to have a vote, a referendum, and the notices go out, and usually we'll take a 30-day notice to have an election. And
Now, is that an election just to elect council? What if there's a big special thing like the
the
Olympics?
process is the same whether it's on referendum for land use. There was referendum, the last one taken about, there was a corporate development plan about turning all this land over to some people and developing.
This one over here,
The last one, yeah.
Mhm.
And it got shot down.
Really? It must not be that one then.
Oh yeah, it was the last one. They said, no, we're not giving it to outsiders with all their money to come in here and develop.
Oh.
And personally, it was against, I would say it was probably against, one of the families in the Squamish Nation have access to a lot of money. And they thought, a lot of people thought, they're in it to make themselves rich, not provide us with anything. So that probably turned a lot of people against it.
Mm. But
I can't see the name of the person, right?
no, don't see the name of the person. That would be bad. But generally, isn't there a model of consensus decision making? Isn't the idea that the decisions that are made should be in the collective? The collective should have a voice.
Yeah, what they do is just send out that notice. It goes to, someone can take it to a council and ask for a meeting.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to have so many sign through the process that you put in, I think it was 10 or something, unless that you had to sign in order to get a meeting. But normally it's the council that calls the meetings.
Mm-hmm.
But from direction from people within it, because we have to deal with certain things. We normally used to have 4 general meetings, and I don't know what the Indian Act says. It has also requirements in regard to meeting. That is the book that holds all how First Nations people operate on the reserve is under that Indian Act. As to how they call meetings, when, time, vote, whatever. It's all in that one book there. I should bring up my Indian Act book.
Well, it's interesting to think about. So, you know, there was the plebiscite back in 2003 that they had here in Vancouver, and they had a standalone plebiscite. 135,000 people voted. About 65%, I think, voted in favor of having it. And because they had that positive result, that telegraphed back to the Olympic organization, I think it's called the OIC,
Yeah.
that Vancouver, you know, they had a positive plebiscite, they were behind it, and that was one of the factors that led to their successful bid. Mm-hmm. So I'm just, you know, for me, whether you're in support or oppose the Olympics, no matter what, you should have the chance to have a voice in that through a plebiscite, a vote, a referenda, some form of collective decision making.
Yes, I think so too. Because there's a number of people that I've been listening to, they all say, we have to have a say on the Olympics. Because a lot of people in the Squamish were not happy with the last process. It was because of a financial thing. And what happened with that, we're all in the dark. It's about money. So we got no information. We just, you can hear, oh, so and so got distributed 10,000 apiece, but we have no facts.
So you don't have accounting within the Squamish Nation either, the same way we don't have accounting over here.
Accounting?
Well, accounting, so the books.
Yeah.
We don't have the books from the 2010 Olympics because they're embargoed in the archives over
Yeah.
there. So you're saying you don't have the books either. You don't have
No.
an accounting from.
No, from 2010, we don't have anything like that. But I'm sure that if they get involved, they're going to want to know what's in those books.
Well, I wouldn't want to be making any decisions that would impact.
No, I think that
Hundreds of
decision
millions
should
of
come from
dollars.
them, from that Squamish Council and Musqueam. We want to know what's in those books. Otherwise, you're keeping us in the dark. We should stay in a rabbit hole. No fire gun will come out.
Well, again, the bottom line here is we shouldn't be making a decision without information. We shouldn't be making a decision without hearing the will of the people. So why do you think that I got such a stalled reaction to my motion to have a vote?
Money, 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 money. A lot of people want to make money. And the world goes around money. I mean, that's all it is.
I still don't know why they would be afraid of having a vote one way or the other, because from what I understand is that the Olympic organization looks more favorably on bids that come in with public support.
Yeah.
So what were they afraid of? I guess they just don't want to take the risk.
I know we should.
Maybe the audience will be able to tell us, why would you not want to have a vote? And do you see this, me asking for a vote of the Vancouver electors as being in any way anti-reconciliation or?
I don't see it as that. I think everybody in their own. You're in your municipality, is it?
Yeah, some
Okay.
municipality.
We don't have that. We got reserves. But anybody in their own place had their own jurisdiction and should have their own authority to making decisions on it.
Right on. So that, I think, covers it.